Please read aloud.
Late at night, long after the servants had retired for the evening, and the old house groaned and complained with the settling cold, he would stay awake hunched in his study, poring over personal records and ledgers, checking, doubting, and double-checking accounts, hoping and praying he could somehow make ends meet, make the sums total above the negative. It was on nights as these when she would quietly enter the room and, placing her hand on his shoulder, would softly speak words of encouragement. On this particular night, she chose words treading lightly and said, "Business hasn't been as steady as it used to. We'll have to settle Father's estate soon." She spoke with no ill intention, only to be helpful, to let him know she understood and, more importantly, still supported him. But he only grew frustrated. First it was the dowry, then it came to her deceased brother's grove, and now his consumptive father's acreage. How low in the fifth would he stoop? When would the constant reminder of his failure level to a numb sense of idle nothingness? And then she spoke the words, "You have to let go. The general store has been dragging you down for years. It is time to move on."
Please read aloud.
She caught the moment something changed within him. She had stolen to the room to offer him support and comfort, and watching his eyes through the frosted window's reflection, she couldn't help but notice they were fixed upon an old ragged book his father had presented to him as a child. It was entitled Comparative Mythologies, a Case Study in Simultaneous Existences. His eyes never left the book, and hers never left his. That was why she knew she did it, was the cause of his ailment. Something drastic took sway the instant she uttered the phrase, "You'll have to let go." It was exactly as if the moment he did just that, obeyed. With that simple phrase, she had severed the vitality between their lives, destroying the hope of procreating a happy future together.
Thank you. Please read aloud.
When the doctor received the urgent call from Eloise, he dismissed her frantic scrawling note as a misunderstood panic. He had known Abraham for years and knew well off that the struggling businessman was more than capable of supporting his stressful workload. But his opinion changed when he stepped into the dark study where the man had confined himself. He suddenly realized the severity of the situation, and his mind flashed to her urgency with a wave of panic. The figure before him suffered from a gaunt disposition and pallid complexion, clutching a tattered storybook to his chest. The small man had transformed into a shade of his former self. Looking into his eyes, the doctor knew the man was no longer behind them, no longer in this room, no longer in this world.
simultaneously.
In accordance
He
with
amused
being a
himself
kind
with
soul
irony
and
that
knowing
he
exactly
had
what
had
was expected
to
of
barter away the
of
last of his
sisterhood,
family's old
she was
world
there
Ford
immediately to
furniture
comfort
to
the
a
moment
Ford
Eloise
steamer
had
back
called
across the
tearful
ocean.
about the frightful state of
He
her
would do
husband.
anything to see his
But when her
friend
sister
again.
finally managed to fall
Anything
to
to see
sleep,
his
Charlotte
childhood wife.
couldn't
his
resist a
friends.
peek at the invalid man.
He had always
And
seen
as
their
she
marriage as a
imagined,
mockery and
she was not
punishment on
moved
himself
by
for
what she
acting
saw.
sooner in life.
He had always
If he
been a
had,
weak man
things
and
could
shoddy
have-
husband,
could have been different.
pouring too much of his
He probably
and
never
her
would have
life
left Old
into the
Country at all.
financial
He never
wreck
would
of
have
a
met
business,
his present wife.
never considering the
Never
affairs
would
of
have
the estate, burning
be
through
going
old
back to
money
thoughts of
that was
infidelity
only
and hopes
allotted
of
through
Eloise.
a nuptial agreement,
She was the reason
and in
why,
consideration for his
why
family.
when presented with the
Pitiful
decision to
glances
take the book
afforded to
away
his
from
wife
Abraham,
seemed
he
like
advised against it.
empires next
It
to
would
his
cause
love
too
he
much
held for his own
emotional strain.
father. No,
He had
it was
said
better
to know
for
what
her
his
sister
friend's state
that he had
of
ended
mind
up
would
in his
change
frightful
as long
frame
as he
of
held it
mind.
clutched to
In
his
fact,
chest.
she wouldn't pause to go out
Anytime
on a
he
limb
could
and
buy
say that the
himself for
situation was
persuasion
indeed
was
better
worth
for
a
everyone.
childhood friend.
Thank you. Please read aloud.
When the aging, sickly father was informed of the conditions of his only son, his life flickered. When he was told of the storybook his son clung to, his own heart weakened. When he saw the book and noticed how each block of text had been scrawled over, only bearing the illustrations, he somehow felt responsible and helpless, and so giving in to the despair and consumption, he died.